Here are some of the top stories our newsroom has been busy putting together all day.
9-month-old baby dies, 4 admitted in Bomet vaccination mishap.
I'm very much willing to sit in any disciplinary formed committee because I didn't do anything wrong.
State House meeting fails to resolve Jubilee wars over committee's leadership.
So the difficulties with the dispatching, and he has recalled and is resetting the examinations anew.
Police officers caught cheating and exams leading to promotion cancelled.
Wakati alifungua kapata kijana pale kona akona kamba. Ndio akakuja akaniambia mama, hii ni police case. Kamejiua.
Shock as 11-year-old boy commits suicide over stress over broken family.
NTV Tonight with Smriti Vidyarthi and Mark Masai.
Thanks for joining us tonight. Our sign language interpreter is Flora Atieno. To our top story, and police in Ongata-Rongai are investigating the circumstances under which an 11-year-old boy took his life last evening.
The Class 4 pupil was found dead dangling from the roof of his mother's rented house by his younger sister in a case that the mother says was brought about by overwhelming stress of a broken family.
NTV's Brenda Wanga reports.
For the third time in 3 years, a mother is mourning the loss of yet another child. This time, however, this loss is more tragic. Her son, 11 years of age, died not of natural causes. The young boy took his life under circumstances that have baffled the neighbors here.
Huyo kijana alikuwa tu sawa. Na akaanza kufua kitu saa 8. Hata karai aliomba kwa huyu jirani. Awakampea karai na akafua. Kuwarudishia karai ati akaingisha mtoto ndani huyo mdogo. Sasa wakadhani ameenda kupeleka mtoto nini alale. Kutoka hiyo masaa hakuonekana tena nje.
The mother tells a different story. She says her son has been battling stress for the last 3 years. The struggle started when she separated from her husband.
Nilisa kwa nini baba yao amewacha? Kwa nini aende kulea watoto wenye si wake na waache wateseke na kuhangaika? Sema nyumba ilikuwa imefungwa, walikuwa wanahangaika tu kuomba usingizi kulala kanisani.
The separation left the then mother of 5 as a single parent with no employment save for manual housekeeping stints. The last one she got was early this year. The 11-year-old boy had been asked to stay at home this week and help with taking care of his younger siblings as his mother sought ways of making her new employment work. The deceased boy had carried out this new responsibility for just 2 days before it overwhelmed him.
Sasa nilipata kazi, kwa sasa sina jingine, nikamwambia kaka na mtoto kwa nyumba tukitafuta mahali pa kwa tukiacha mtoto. Ndio nikipata mahali pa kuachanga mtoto aende shule. Amekuwa akienda. Sasa alikuwa amenikalia na mtoto tu kwa sababu ya kazi. Ndio niende kazi na niweze kutafuta vile nitaacha mtoto. Niweze kupata pesa za kulipa ndege.
Neighbors say that they did not notice that anything was amiss until the deceased younger sister came back from school in the evening and tried to gain access into their one-roomed house. It was only after they broke down the door that they found the dangling body of the 11-year-old boy, who now goes on record as one of the youngest suicide cases at least in Kenya.
Dadake akaanza kupiga mayowe. Nikamuuliza kwa nini? Akaruka tena nje. Akakuja akaangalia, wakati alifungua akapata kijana pale kona akona kamba. Ndio akakuja akaniambia mama, hii ni police case. Kamejiua.
The boy said to have strangled himself using a piece of rope that had been used on a curtain in the house. Today, investigators were trying to piece together the sequence of events that led to the baffling apparent suicide case of a minor. The mother, however, says the boy had indicated that he wanted to take his life earlier as the realities of a life without his father hit home hard.
Kuna wakati alikuwa amejaribu lakini nikamsaidia akaacha.
A post-mortem will be carried out on the body of the deceased tomorrow as the family comes to terms with the loss of the boy who at the time of his death was a Class 4 pupil. Brenda Wanga, NTV.
Poleni sana to that family, and to another incident that is leaving a family mourning as well. Bomet County government has temporarily halted administering the measles vaccine after a 9-month-old baby died several hours after receiving the jab at Mogogosiek Hospital in Konoin.
Well, 4 other toddlers who were admitted at Tenwek Hospital on Tuesday were in critical condition, but the doctors are now saying that they are out of danger and that they are responding well to treatment. Well, Kevin MUCHAI will be bringing us that story in just a moment. But first, let's take you to the coast now.
That's right. The wife of a man brutally beaten up by security guards in a Mombasa shopping mall parking lot is seeking answers after he succumbed to his injuries a week ago. The circumstances under which David Wakabi met his demise remain unclear.
Investigations are still ongoing to determine what happened at the Nyali Centre parking lot on January the 7th that cost a husband, father and banker his life days after 5 security guards assaulted him.
Victoria Rubadiri reports.
The days don't get easier for Grace Wakabi, who is trying to come to terms with the tragic loss of her husband, David. It's been a week since he passed on, with no clues as to why he would be on the receiving end of a fatal beating by 5 night security guards at Nyali Centre in Mombasa. The only explanation she's received was that her husband, a banker with Stanbic Bank, was urinating in the parking lot around 2 a.m. on January 7th, necessitating a thorough beating by the security guards as seen in this CCTV footage, and a trip of an unconscious David to Jokam Hospital.
I entered at the junction where I found them stitching his wounds. At that moment, I tried to talk to David, but he couldn't respond. He was in a very much pain. The only thing he could do is screaming. I didn't get even a chance of speaking to him.
David would succumb to his injuries days after the January 7th incident. According to the post-mortem report, he died of severe injuries to his brain from 3 cuts on his head and 1 on the neck. Police have arrested 2 guards attached to Solvit Security that family friend Benson Mosonik accuses of a cover-up.
Mimi naona kama kuna information on alt. Sababu hata ukiona kwenye CCTV kuna part ya CCTV yenye haiko. I think wali disable.
Solvit's Group Operation Manager Christopher Wairoma said they have cooperated with the police.
We have been to the police station ourselves and we have been talking to them like on daily basis, and if there is any other document that they don't have, that they would have wanted to have, then I think they have not asked for it.
Police are still hunting down the other suspects, while the 2 in custody are set to appear at Shanzu Law Courts on Thursday next week.
Yesterday, our officers presented a request to Shanzu Law Courts, requesting the court to release the file so that we can substitute the earlier charge with a charge of murder.
Victoria Rubadiri, NTV.
An absolutely tragic loss, and of course condolences to David's wife, and we certainly hope that they do get justice. All right, let's take you back to Bomet County now, and the county government there has temporarily halted administering the measles vaccine after a 9-month-old baby died several hours after receiving the jab in a hospital in Konoin.
4 other toddlers who were admitted at Tenwek Hospital on Tuesday were in critical condition, but the doctors are now saying they're out of danger and that they are responding well to treatment. Kevin MUCHAI now reports.
Cries of a child lying at the high dependency unit in Tenwek Hospital, Bomet County. The baby was brought here on Tuesday morning after receiving a measles vaccine at a health center in Konoin on Monday. Baby Dorcas was admitted along with her twin sister Joy, who allegedly died moments after receiving the jab.
Tunashuku pengine dawa ambayo ni vaccine ambayo alipewa ni dawa ambayo ni pengine ni expired ama ni vile ilifanyiwa preservation haiku preserviwa vizuri.
Doctors at the hospital said that they admitted 4 other children, some of whom were in critical condition when they arrived at the hospital and were taken to the intensive care unit. They had swellings on their bodies, especially where the vaccine had been administered, and high fever, which the doctors say was a danger to their lives. The children are still receiving treatment at the hospital, and their lives are now out of danger.
We have seen 4 children now who have had what seems like a reaction after receiving MMR vaccine on Monday. One of these children unfortunately arrived to us already dead. The other children, we received 2 yesterday. Both of them are being cared for inpatient. They are both slowly improving. One is still in HDU. The other one has been transferred to the regular pediatric ward.
Swinging into action, the county government of Bomet temporarily stopped the administration of measles vaccines in all the hospitals across the county as a measure of preventing more fatalities.
It was also administered by a qualified personnel, allowed to, recommended by the Ministry of Health to administer the vaccines.
At least 19 parents whose children had received the jab on Monday reportedly rushed the children to different health institutions to have them cross-examined after news went around that one of the children had passed away and 4 others admitted.
They presented themselves with soreness and swelling in the arm in the area where they had gotten a vaccination. So be alert for that, seek medical care if that sort of a presentation is seen.
Investigations are underway to determine whether the vaccines were contaminated or if it was a case of negligence. Kevin Mutai, NTV in Kericho County.
Quick recovery to those undergoing the treatment. The Kenya Police Training College today cancelled police exams due to what they term as malpractices observed before officers sat for the exams. The exams were to be held in several parts of the country for the next 2 days.
A letter copied to several regional security heads informed them of the cancellation. And as NTV's investigative editor, Dennis Okari reports, the Matiang'i effect in the Interior Ministry is already shaking things up in the disciplined force.
Last year, police officers sat for their police law examinations in several parts of the country, but because of widespread exam cheating, the results were cancelled. This year, it was the same story, cheating again.
There were some irregularities that they detected with respect to dispatching. Not that anybody has sat for that examination, dispatching. There was a difficulty with the dispatching, and he has recalled and is resetting the examinations anew.
In this signal sent to all formation commanders, all regional police coordinators, all county commanders, and copied to Vigilance House and the IG's office, Acting Kiganjo Police College Commandant Gabriel Musau said the January 2018 police law examinations have been nullified with immediate effect due to malpractices noticed after dispatching the question papers to the exam centers. NTV has obtained the leaked exam papers. This is the Evidence Act exam paper giving police officers 2 hours to answer at least 5 out of 8 questions. Some of the questions in this paper are explaining the terms advocate, banker's book, court evidence, and facts. This one tests the officer's knowledge of the penal code, allowing them 2 hours to answer at least 5 questions out of the total 8. In this paper, an officer was to explain the phrase, things capable of being stolen in relation to animals. 10 marks. The third paper is on Criminal Procedure Code, where officers were asked to explain the difference between bail and bond, and another one, the immediate steps an officer should take when they receive a report on a person who's committed suicide. The fourth exam paper is on station administration and police work, which tests the officer's understanding of admin and police officer duties at the station level, including the responsibilities of an OCS. The fifth and the final paper is on local acts, where the officers are given 2 hours to answer questions like define an arrest, who is a police officer, a gazetted officer, and who is a cabinet secretary.
Excellency, under the command of
Officers who spoke to NTV say they believe the reason for the cancellation of their exams that had leaked before they reported to the exam centers was the duplication of what the acting education CS Fred Matiang'i did with the KCPE and KCSE exams cheating. Matiang'i is now the current Interior Cabinet Secretary. The officers are not happy as the letter announcing the cancellation said fresh examinations will be prepared and sufficient notice will be communicated in due course. The signal further states that all the papers which are not opened to be returned to the college by tomorrow.
command of Inspector Caroline Vinyang.
The exam is normally set for those who have applied for promotion within the police service. The exams are set at the Kiganjo Training College and dispatched to government training institutes where officers report to do the
Well, the National Police Service Commission has rubbished allegations by the opposition that due process was not followed during the appointments of the police chiefs by the President.
The National Police Service Commission has just finished vetting 5 candidates out of the 9 who qualified for the various positions. Trevor Mbija has more.
I have, in accordance with Article 132 of the Constitution of Kenya and Section 17 of the National Police Service Act, made the following changes in the National Police Service. For redeployment.
That is where the standoff ensued. In a stinging statement, NASA says the procedures were twisted from the start, such that instead of the National Police Service sacking the former employees, it is the President who did so.
The following have been deployed to the Public Service Commission for further redeployment.
But the opposition is having none of that. The statement claims that it was not clear why the officers were sacked and why they were being redeployed in the public service instead of the police service.
That on the advice of the National Police Service Commission and in consultation with the Inspector General and via Regulation 26 of the National Police Service Commission Act, Recruitment and Appointments Regulation 2015, the following officers are appointed in acting capacity until processed by the Commission in accordance with the said law.
Despite the citations by the President, the opposition is demanding that the National Police Service cancels the process of recruiting the deputy IGs and re-advertise the positions, spelling out the qualifications to be met and giving the applicants up to 14 days to apply, even though sources indicate that the top brass of the police service did not want to apply for the positions, which would be deemed as going against the President. Sources indicate that out of the 5 applicants for the police boss positions, only 2 are being considered for the Deputy IG Administrative Police position. Dr. Vincent Makoha and Musa Kakawa will be battling it out with President Uhuru's appointee, Nur Gabao. That leaves an almost automatic win for George Kinoti and Edward Mbugua, who were appointed to DCI and DIG National Police Service, respectively. Speaking to a local newspaper, National Police Service Commission boss Johnson Kavalidi says Bernard Nguma, Bernard Ombati and Milka Cheptinga did not qualify for the job. Even then, there is disquiet among the Administrative Police Service ranks over the appointment of Nur Gabao, who they say is from the Kenya Police Training College. Sources who did not want to be named say that President Uhuru Kenyatta bypassed highly qualified individuals who understand the operations even better. Trevor Ombija, NTV.
Meanwhile, only 5 candidates, including the 3 presidential appointees, qualified for the positions of Deputy Inspector General, Administrative Police Service, Deputy Inspector General, National Police Service, and the Director at the Directorate of Criminal Investigations.
Out of the 5, no qualified female officer applied for the positions, except for Milka Cheptinga, who is a lawyer, and the commissioners, however, maintained that everything was done by the book.
Where the confusion arises is where it was taken that the President had appointed certain officers in an acting capacity. That was duly done by the Inspector General in consultation with the Commission, because there cannot be a vacuum. In security, there cannot be a vacuum, and that is found in our regulations.
Again, we wouldn't speak for those who didn't want to apply. We can speak for those who applied and whom we are able to evaluate. So we are not aware of any political fears or any other fears that may have been attendant to this process. That is why we advertised.
Elsewhere now, Nandi Hills MP Alfred Keter says that he will not step down from the leadership of Parliament's Labour and Social Welfare Committee, despite being prevailed upon by the Deputy President and his party to do so.
And now members of the Labour Committee have petitioned the Speaker in writing to ask for a repeat election, saying they were not in their right senses when they voted him chair. Keter, however, dismissed their petition, saying it had no backing in law.
The Jubilee Party de-whipped him and 3 other legislators for vying against the party's preferred list of candidates.
Still as obstinate, Nandi Hills MP Alfred Keter is scaling up his fight with his political party and party principles for being asked to relinquish his position as chair of Parliament's Labour and Social Welfare Committee.
We were duly elected by both members of Jubilee and NASA. It is not a question of any political party to give a direction or to dictate on who is going to sit as a chair of any committee in Parliament.
Before his outburst in Parliament, he and 3 other legislators, Moiben's Silas Tiren, Marakwet's David Bowen, had today been summoned to State House for a meeting with President Uhuru Kenyatta. Earlier, the 4 had reportedly told the Deputy President to his face that they will be staying put. The DP had earlier spoken with and met with the legislators in a bid to get them to back down. The President's meeting today was meant to strike some harmony within the ruling party, but the plain-spoken Nandi Hills MP is calling the President's bluff with some ungracious words.
Tunajua Mheshimiwa Rais ana kazi mingi ya kufanya. Ana kazi ya kuhakikisha ametengeneza mawaziri, baraza la mawaziri, kutengeneza serikali lake. Kuna kazi ya kuhakikisha watoto wetu wanaenda shule ya upili bila kulipishwa.
Also summoned to State House were the more than 50 members of the 4 departmental committees led by the Defiant 4, Labour and Social Welfare chaired by Keter, Agriculture Committee chaired by Moiben MP Silas Tiren, Environment and Natural Resources where Marakwet MP David Bowen is Vice Chair, and the Trade, Industry and Cooperatives Committee chaired by Mwen MP Alex Koskei. All 4 had run against the party's preferred lineup and won, but they were de-whipped for going against their party and its leadership. After today's State House meeting, members of a Labour committee have now petitioned Speaker Justin Muturi in writing, calling for a repeat vote. The members say they were not in their senses when they voted Alfred Keter as chair.
You know, when you are not in your right senses, we can't blame you. It can be natural causes or what, but we need to involve doctors so that they can state specifically when were you having these issues of right senses even before you were elected.
The 4 have been fighting the removal from the committees in court. High Court Justice John Mativo in December gave them a temporary lifeline, suspending the party's decision to strip them of all leadership positions in the House. In the lawsuit, they claimed National Assembly Majority Leader Aden Duale and Chief Whip Benjamin Washiali did not give them a chance to be heard before they were discharged from the committees.
I'm very much willing to sit in any disciplinary formed committee because I didn't do anything wrong. I stuck to the rules. I followed the standing orders. I followed the Constitution. It allowed me to exercise my right to run as a chair, and I was elected. I didn't elect myself.
According to Parliament's standing orders, the chairman of a committee can be removed if he fails to attend 4 consecutive sittings of a committee or if members can pass a vote of no confidence in them. Sheila Sendeo, NTV.
It's been a heavy first part of the bulletin. Time for a breather here on NTV Tonight. But as always, there's more coming up, and that includes... Welcome back. The National Super Alliance, NASA, has reiterated that there are no divisions in the coalition over the scheduled presidential oathing of its leader, Raila Odinga.
NASA, which is set to hold an Ukambani consultative forum on Friday in Machakos County, also insists that there is currently no dialogue with President Uhuru Kenyatta over cabinet formation or possibility of a coalition government.
Seth Olale explains to us in detail the coalition's next move.
Reports had indicated that NASA principals were headed for a clash over the planned swearing-in of Raila Odinga and Kalonzo Musyoka as the people's president and the deputy president. But NASA says nothing is further from the truth. In fact, the steering committee of the People's Assembly concept says the path to Uhuru Park on the 30th of this month is clear.
Na yale mambo tunasema hapa ndio yamenenwa kwa hizo vikao na ndio tumeamua. So we are reporting on what we have agreed from those conversations. There is no division in NASA.
NASA leader Raila Odinga himself says the oath-taking will take place and he will form a parallel government come what may. While on an interview with the Voice of America, the former premier maintained President Uhuru Kenyatta's government is illegitimate and the rightful government is outside.
Serikali bandia iko ofisini, lakini serikali wananchi kamili ambayo iko nje ofisi. Na tutafanya kazi kama serikali. Tutateua baraza ya mawaziri. Na tutaanza kufanya kazi, unajua inaweza kuwa hata serikali in exile ambayo iko nje.
Odinga's statement came a few minutes after 13 legislators from the NASA coalition returned signed affidavits that recognize the ODM party leader as the people's president. NASA members of parliament are to take an oath that binds them to a resolution that aims at swearing in Odinga and Musyoka. NASA has a total of 154 lawmakers, 127 being members of parliament and 27 senators.
After 25 years of fighting for democracy, we can have people stand up and make a case publicly for dictatorship. We need to ask why. If we are not agreed that we are a democracy, how can we then live together?
In the build-up to the presidential oathing, NASA will continue to hold People's Assembly conventions before a national convention that will be staged at Uhuru Park, an event that will include the swearing-in ceremony. The next convention will be in Machakos County on Friday, where it will hold the Ukambani Consultative Forum, with the main agenda being the electoral reforms. The coalition has dismissed claims that it's behind the current delay in President Uhuru Kenyatta's complete cabinet formation. NASA insists it's not interested in boardroom meetings with Jubilee leaders and that it will not even accept the idea of formation of a coalition government.
And we are not prepared to help it out of its own mess by lending it legitimacy so that it can limp along to the election which would take place in 2022 if they allow it.
NASA reiterates that any political dialogue should be based on electoral reforms and not development as desired by the Jubilee Party leadership. NASA intends to conclude the regional forum within weeks in order to pave way for the national convention. Seth Olale, NTV, Nairobi.
The ethics and anti-graft officials have raided Kisii County Government's payroll department and seized crucial documents and computers.
The Commission's Deputy Director, Michael Mubea, said that they were carrying out an investigation into an ongoing job scam in the county.
Mubea said they have been following up the matter following a flurry of complaints from members of the public.
Well, the nation found 4 EACC officers at the payroll department after they were tipped by members of the public. And they were, however, not allowed in as the search went on indoors.
The regional body executive, Abraham Kemboi, declined to speak to the media and instead referred them to their Nairobi offices for comment.
In June, a similar raid was conducted at the office of the Chief Executive of Trade over a liquor licensing scam.
We'll be visiting the corporate world in a bit after the break.
So we are working on that, and I want to assure you that, God willing, by mid of this month, you will see a lot of changes.
And included in the business news, the government's promise on cheap power, but large consumers remain sceptical. That and more.
Good evening and welcome to NTV Business. I'm Dan Mwangi. Now, BAMBURI'S Cement Limited has raised an issue with Energy and Petroleum's current Secretary, Charles Keter, on the instability of power in the coastal region where the bulk of its energy consumption is based. The firm, which is a subsidiary of Lafarge Holcim, is the second largest single consumer of electricity in the country, with power bills in excess of 2.2 billion shillings per annum. NTV's Laban Cliff Onserio last night accompanied the CS on a tour of BAMBURI'S Cement's Athi River-based factory and filed this report.
I have directed that with the effect of 1st December 2017, the power tariffs charged to manufacturers will be reduced by 50% between the hours of 10 a.m. and 6 a.m. This in line with our policy of a 24-hour economy.
It is an announcement that was aimed at giving the manufacturing sector a boost, given the crucial role it has to play in promoting economic growth. On Wednesday night, the Cabinet Secretary for Energy and Petroleum took a tour of BAMBURI'S Cement's factory that's in Athi River to assess the progress of the implementation of that decree.
We are very, very happy with the government initiative on time of use. Okay, we know it is still early days today. We know that we are still clearing out the teething problems, but we are willing to work with you to make this a success.
BAMBURI'S Cement's annual power bill comes to over 2.2 billion shillings, second only to the consumption of the Kenya Pipeline Company. The bulk of that amount, that is 1.5 billion shillings, is consumed at its Mombasa-based factory.
Currently, because Mombasa is it's run by Kipefu, which is diesel, and a bit of hydros from Kindaruma, which is right now it's minimum. So we are working on that, and I want to assure you that God willing, by mid of this month, you will see a lot of changes.
Diesel-powered thermal generators have for many years acted as Kenya's buffers to keep energy production going, soaking in the pressure when hydropower generators are unable to process the desired level of output, but at a costly expense to the taxpayer.
We are not renewing any thermal power plants.
Thank you. Thank you.
We are not.
Thank you.
We are not, and the instructions are very clear. Unless the thermal plants which are coming will tell us they are less than 10 cents. We will not refuse.
As the debate rages on about Kenya's generation mix, the issue of reliability and quality of power is a recurring theme. A case in point is the recent power blackout that spread to neighboring Uganda.
You know, there's this whole push about encouraging investment and especially reducing the cost of electricity. You know that this is also a key element in the World Bank Ease of Doing Business parameters into how is it, of course, what are the power tariffs and how do investors look at payment to electricity?
The reduction in power tariffs at night for manufacturing entities is aimed at promoting a 24-hour economy and the growth of industries.
During 6 a.m. all the way to 10 p.m. Our demand goes to 1700. Now 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. it drops to about 800.
Right.
So there is an imbalance in terms of the stability of the grid. So what we want to do is we want that to be minimal.
We follow all your projects very, very closely. The projects that you have in for geothermal, for the wind power projects, we follow them very, very closely.
Laban Cliff Onserio, NTV Business.
About 5 minutes.
When you hear statements such as Kenya's GDP in 2018 is going to grow by 5.8% or 6% or some other percentage, what do these numbers mean to you? Do they make sense in terms of translating to the reality of some measure of prosperity in your own income-generating activity? That is, if you have any. Now, many may see these numbers as just academic figures put out there by policymakers and analysts at public podiums. A take-home from Stanbic Bank's 2018 economic outlook points to this being partly due to inefficient utilization of infrastructure and insufficient reforms in agribusiness, denying Kenyans opportunities such as jobs, increased exports, and higher tax collection.
From the dry heat of the drought
Muko tayari, hamuko tayari,
to the charged heat of politics. These are some of the hits the Kenyan economy had to contend with in 2017. However, many hopped into the new year with a lot of hope, which has received some affirmation from Stanbic Bank's 2018 economic outlook.
GDP growth will expand by 5.6% in 2018. Headline inflation will average 4.4% in 2018 from around the 8% average that we saw in 2017. The first quarter this year, the Kenya shilling will appreciate, starting from, it's already appreciated somewhat, but I think it will appreciate a bit more in February. In terms of when I think a revision is going to happen, our baseline assumption is, sometime this year, perhaps in the second half of this year.
Kenya has been on an ambitious infrastructure development plan across various sectors. However, there still remain concerns on if returns from these investments are proportional to the resources pumped into them. The bank's regional economist says that the fruit of the infrastructure built over the previous years should be utilized more efficiently than has been the case, so as to have more people experiencing and enjoying the growth.
GDP growth now needs to be more than a number. GDP growth needs to be a rise. If GDP goes up, that means job creation should go up. If GDP goes up, it means exports should go up, and tax should go up. But if that's not happening, then there's a productivity gap somewhere.
Much as there is a positive outlook, the report also cites that there needs to be a change in mindsets with regard to the reforms that are given emphasis if the quality of life for Kenyans is to be improved.
If you work hand in hand with the agribusiness sector, which means I'm also including the industrial sector, that will not only get us to 6% or slightly higher in the medium term, but I think it will generally improve the inclusivity of growth, and we will see a general improvement in the standards of living of Kenyans.
The government has been on a borrowing spree seeking to achieve such goals, and in the process received much flack over its huge debt appetite.
However, the Stanbic Bank survey indicates that taking up a Eurobond now, controversial as it might sound, is not a bad idea. The report says that the timing is right, but the time that must elapse before repayment is due should be increased.
The volatile nature of Bitcoin has manifested itself with the price for the cryptocurrency dialing down to less than $10,000 in trading during the day, an equivalent of about 1,030,000 Kenya shillings, before recovering to levels above the 10,000 mark. The price of Bitcoin had surged in excess of $19,000 in December, an equivalent of 1.9 million shillings, amidst the prospects of being embraced as a mainstream tool for investments by global corporations and investors alike. Now, various banking regulators and firms in financial investment services have warned customers to be wary of Bitcoin. Some financial analysts have described the meteoric rise in the price of Bitcoin as a bubble, and perhaps the bubble may just burst or may just have burst. The United States Agency for International Development, USAID, and the Ministry of Energy have developed a roadmap that will guide community interest in power generation activities. The blueprint, launched on Wednesday morning, spells out how mega power projects can involve locals in compensation, participation, and access to resources. It is estimated that most projects fail at the implementation stage due to lack of thorough consensus or late involvement of villagers in decision-making. USAID is spearheading the Power Africa initiative, which has several renewable energy projects, largely in the capital city's outskirts.
Meet you over there. Yes.
There's still things that are slowing growth, and one of the areas that has been the most difficult has clearly been community engagement. And more progress in this area really is critical for the success of power projects in Kenya. Communities have got to be part of the power effort.
Attaining community buy-in is not an exercise in public relations or corporate social responsibility. It takes hard work and needs to be part and parcel of a company's business practice.
Business for tonight is done, and so am I. Good night.
Nairobi Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko has once again dismissed the resignation of Polycarp IGATHE as his deputy as a non-issue.
Sonko says he did not fire IGATHE, hence will not engage in any kind of reconciliatory talks with him. The governor was speaking in Kiambu, where he presided over a workshop.
Well, that workshop was convened by the Nairobi members of the County Assembly to discuss the Ward Development Fund, and the MCAs also resolved to steer off the discussion on the resignation. Instead, they say their focus will be working with the governor alone.
I did not fire him. He decided to fire himself. But I want to assure Nairobians that that does not hinder us from delivering services to the people we serve.
We have assured the governor that our support is unequivocal and unconditional. We want him to continue delivering services for Nairobi people, and we have said that we are unashamed in that regard.
We are not here as NASA or Jubilee. Governor was elected, and we know governor is the governor of everybody, including NASA. Jubilee is our governor for next 5 years.
Our unashamed sports reporter and anchor Edmond Nyabola is standing by with the sports after the break.
Samuel MUCHAI.
Sportsmen and women unveiled, and there was a big surprise.
Samuel MUCHAI was crowned Kenya's finest sports personality for 2017, capping what was an excellent year for the double para-athletics championships gold medalist. MUCHAI gave a powerful speech on receiving the award on a night in which Cricket Kenya scooped most of the prizes for the exemplary performance of the Kenya under-19 team in 2017.
All the sponsors of our sports sector, many companies commit resources for the development of our sports.
Apologies for that mistake, and here's the real story.
The winner of the Sports Personality of the Year, Samuel MUCHAI.
Samuel MUCHAI! In what was another successful year, Paralympian Samuel Muchai won 2 gold medals in the T11, 1500 meters and 5000 meters at the World Para-Athletics Championships in London, Kenya's only gold medals at the championships. Muchai becomes the second sportsman with disability to scoop Sawyer's top award after Deaflympian Simon Cherono in 2013. Muchai also won the Sportsman with Disability Award to cap a successful night.
Many people believe that people with disability, they are beggars. They need to be helped in the street or somewhere. But tonight I want to prove to you as I stand here, disability is not an ability.
Helen Obiri.
Helen Obiri! Sportswoman of the Year award went to 5,000 meters world champion Helen Obiri. Obiri's blistering run to beat Ethiopian Almaz Ayana at the World Championships in London, coupled with a national record and a diamond race title in 2017, capped what was an excellent year for the KDF athlete.
You know, it's very hard to build the country and to get a gold in such a competitions. It's a lot of commitment, discipline, and I'm looking forward to do extra hard 2018 season.
Sportsman of the Year, Conseslus Kipruto.
Another big winner on the night was World and Olympics 3,000 meter steeplechase champion Conseslus Kipruto. Kipruto, Ezekiel Kimboi's undisputed heir in Kenya's master event, won the world title in London to add to his success in the diamond race. His prize was collected by Athletics Kenya.
Beryl Wamira. Beryl!
The Sportswoman with Disability Award went to Deaflympian Beryl Wamira, who won 2 silver medals at the 2017 Summer Deaflympics in Turkey.
200 meters where she clocked 26.58 seconds for second place.
Cricket won big on the night as the Kenya Under-19 team, currently in World Cup action in New Zealand, was crowned the Male Sports Team of the Year for bringing back the memories of the golden days. One of the team's players, Aman Gandhi, was crowned the most promising boy in absentia. Also crowned in absentia was the team's coach, Jimmy Kamande, who beat KCB RFC's Curtis Olago and Kenya Lionesses coach Kevin Wambua to the Coach's Award.
That speaks for itself, that we are finally getting somewhere. It's the recognition at these awards, and it's the first time that Cricket Kenya has ever got anything at the Sawyer Awards.
Kenya Lionesses.
Kenya Lionesses took the Women's Team of the Year gong in a year that not only saw them qualify for the Commonwealth Games, but also reached the main cup quarterfinals of the 7th Women's World Series qualifiers.
Jacqueline Wamburi.
Jacqueline Wambui! The World Under-18 Championships last July on Kenyan soil showed Kenyan sports fans the rich talent base there is in the country, and it was deserving that Jacqueline Wambui, who won gold in the 800 meters, scooped the most promising female athlete of the year award.
A great future beckons the youngster who seems certain to fall.
The winner is Athletics Kenya.
Athletics Kenya! Athletics Kenya took the Federation of the Year award for hosting the successful Under-18 Championships and also overseeing Team Kenya's performance at the World Championships in London, in which Kenya finished second to the US in the medal table.
World Under-18.
The Boys School Team of the Year award went to East Africa Rugby Sevens champions Muhuri Mushiri, as the Girls Team award was taken by national football champions Uyeta Girls.
There are those zones that continue to impede Kenya from getting an extra gold today and even in the future. In line with the theme this year, passing the baton, Kenya's future is now in the hands of the youth, who must be protected at all costs.
Some of us were able to elect it, and we have a new executive board of National Olympic Committee. And I want to assure you that within the executive, it is a team that they are going to deliver. It is a team that they are working together.
It will be a dream for me to see sports being incorporated into the curriculum as a subject in its own, so that the youth can have an opportunity to do their sports without wondering or worrying about their parents saying, no, you have to concentrate on your books first before the sports.
Former Gor Mahia player and coach Alan Thigo and former Commonwealth Games and All-Africa Games boxing champion Stephen Mushoki were inducted to the Hall of Fame. Congratulations to all the winners last night. Now, the government will not negotiate with gaming and betting companies on the 35% gaming tax law, according to Deputy President William Ruto. Speaking during the Sawyer Awards last night, a straight-talking DP said companies have a responsibility to pay taxes. Ruto also said the government will fund clubs and federations affected by SportPesa's sponsorship withdrawal.
All the sponsors of our sports sector, many companies commit resources for the development of our sports, even as they pay taxes. And I want to encourage them to continue paying taxes, but also continue supporting sports. We have provided the 500 million shillings to eliminate any gaps that would have existed because of the withdrawal of some of the sponsors from their sponsorship of sports. Because paying taxes is not an option. It's a must for all of us, and it's not negotiable. And I want to continue to encourage all the other sponsors, good people, to continue paying taxes, and also all of us supporting the sports fraternity.
Now, Harambee Stars have moved one place up in the latest FIFA ranking, which were released today by the world governing body. The CECAFA Senior Challenge Cup champions are 105th in the ranking and 25th on the continent with 317 points. Neighbors Uganda have jumped 2 places up to 73rd in the world and 16th on the continent. Cranes are still the highest ranked nation in the CECAFA region, followed by Kenya, Rwanda, Sudan, Ethiopia, Burundi and Tanzania. Tunisia have replaced Senegal atop the African standings, with Egypt, Morocco and Democratic Republic of Congo completing the top 5 on the continent. World champions Germany are still number 1, followed by Brazil, Portugal, Argentina and Belgium. Kariobangi Sharks have signed 11 new players, among them 3 strikers who will be tasked with the responsibility of filling in Masood Juma's shoes in the new Kenyan Premier League season. The new faces are Brian Bwire, James Mazembe and Henry Juma, all from Kakamega High School, Sydney Simale from Nakuru All-Stars, Brian Juma from Liberty Sports Academy, Harrison Mwendwa from Mathare United, Eric Kapaito from FC Talanta, Gad Matthews from Palos FC and Shafan Oyugi, who joined from Chemelil Sugar. Among the players who left the club are Matthew Odongo, who went to Tusker, Eli Asieche and Ibrahim Kitawi, who joined Sofapaka, Osborne Monday and Calvin Odongo, who went to Posta Rangers, and Rogers Omondi. Sharks' first match in the new KPL season is against Nzoia Sugar. Arsenal forward Alexis Sanchez is likely to join Manchester United, and this is according to Arsenal manager Arsene Wenger. The Chilean international is out of contract at the end of the season and was also...
is 10 o'clock on the dot. That's where we leave it on NTV Tonight. Thanks for watching, and thank you to Flora Atieno, our sign language interpreter. I'm Smriti Vidyarthi.
And I'm Mark Masai. In 15 minutes, we'll have a rerun of Hell's Bridal by our investigative editor, Dennis Okari. You'll enjoy. Good night.
This is NTV.